The Giants need to go out on Sunday Night Football and beat the damn Chiefs, okay? Welcome to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl on social media. We are going to talk all about the Giants-Chiefs game today. But first, today's podcast is brought to you by Believe Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is the number one place to make all of your bets, whether it's the MLB, NFL, or college football. Some of my favorite bets for the Thursday night game tonight, while the Bills take on the Dolphins, is of course an anytime touchdown score. You guys know I love that bet. If there are two players that I feel very confident are going to score a touchdown tonight, it's Josh Allen and James Cook. Josh Allen is minus 170 and James Cook is minus 172. Parlay them together, you got a plus 165. So if you bet money, you win money. And I would say that's a pretty good one. The Dolphins defense is not looking good, and we all know what the Bills offense looks like. So I'm taking the Bills to win. So is FanDuel Sportsbook. They have them at minus 900. Either way, it should be a good game to watch. I think the Bills are obviously going to take it, but their offense is super fun to watch, and I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns tonight. So make sure you bet responsibly. Get all your bets on FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's go ahead and get into this Giants versus Chiefs. There's a couple things we need to discuss. First, we're going to talk injury updates. We are going to talk what Mike Gabriel said to the press today, and we are going to talk about some personnel decisions and updates that they've made. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about what the Giants need to do to win and players to watch. I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter today, hopefully to 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Is Andrew Thomas going to play on Sunday? This is the most and probably only important question that any Giants fan cares about for Sunday's game. So here's what Brian Daboll had to say on Wednesday when they had their first practice of the week. Now, the practice was not padded, so take with that what you will. I don't know if they're doing a padded practice today or tomorrow. They might just be scrapping it for the week. Who knows? But Daboll said that Andrew Thomas was getting the most amount of reps on Wednesday that he's gotten so far as he's been rehabbing and working his way back. So they're going to see how he feels on Thursday and go from there. Daboll is actually speaking to the media right now, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up some tweets so we can see what sort of updates he's giving on the players and who's going to practice. And just like that, here we go. Dan Duggan, the Giants aren't in pads again today. Assuming that's due to the toll of Sunday's overtime game, that means barring a setback, Andrew Thomas's debut will come without a full contact practice. This week, Thomas has only been a limited participant in two padded practice since getting activated off the PUP list. Dan Duggan saying exactly what I was about to say. So this is exactly what I'm worried about, right? So now they're not doing any padded practices this week. He got a lot of reps yesterday, but does that mean anything if he's not in actual pads? So now he's going to go from whatever he's been doing during these padded practices. I think he's only even been one since he came off the PUP list, because last week he was in Thursdays, Fridays practices, which were not padded. So anyway, all of this to say that if I were betting on it, I would bet that Andrew Thomas is not going to play. And maybe I would lose some money on it. Maybe, you never know. I think there's a 50-50 chance that he plays, but I don't feel great about it, honestly. He said, Daboll also said that Thomas will take a lot of reps again today. He called that a good sign. He said he doesn't need a padded practice. He's played a lot of football. Daboll also said yesterday that he was encouraged by Andrew Thomas's practice. So again, take with that what you will. What I know and what I have seen over the last few years, especially since this regime is here, and since Ronnie Barnes has been here too, this medical staff is extremely conservative when it comes to injuries. If these players are not 100% ready to go, they are not playing. And one other thing that I will say about Andrew Thomas, and then we're going to move on, is they were also pretty sure, this front office staff, that Andrew Thomas was going to be ready to go for week 1, and it's week 3. So again, I don't feel confident that Andrew Thomas is playing. I hope that I'm wrong. I'm so sick of not seeing Andrew Thomas on the field, so I really want him back. He makes a gigantic difference with this offensive line. But in the worst case scenario, and he's not out there, at least we have Marcus Bowe. The other thing I want to say about that too is that I am not fully convinced that Marcus Bowe is going to be the starter on Sunday if Thomas doesn't play. Now, again, I could be fully wrong about this, but I've heard a lot of Daboll press conferences, and the fact that we know he's a player's guy, right? Like, he's not going to come out here and trash his players to the media. I understand that. But he was like overly complimentary of James Hudson and said that he likes his toughness. He likes the edgeness that he brings. And that, he basically just told him he has to tone it down a notch, but he's a veteran. He's a good football player. He's a smart football player, and he knows what to do, and it's not going to happen again. Dable also said that one of the false starts was not on James Hudson and it just got called on him, which I was watching the same film. I saw clips of it and it looked like they were both on Andrew Thomas. So I don't have good eyesight. Maybe that was me. When Dan Duggan and some other people who have watched the film say things like that on James Hudson, it looked to me like it was on Hudson. So Dable can make excuses that he wants him and he's going to defend him to the media. We know that. But I'm just saying that after all of that, it would not surprise me if they trot out James Hudson first. And then if he gets upon a couple penalties, then they will yank him. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised by that. All right, let's go through the injuries because I know this is important and we got to get through this. So Wednesday's injury report looked like this. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, Chauncey Golston, and Darius Muasau all did not practice. Now, Flanagan-Foles was dealing with a calf injury. He missed last week's game, so I don't feel confident that he's going to play. Chauncey Golston's dealing with an ankle. I don't feel confident that anyone who did not practice on Wednesday is going to play on Sunday. They also have Darius Muasau, who's dealing with a concussion, and now says concussion/eye. And Dable just said that Golston and Darius Muasau are both not practicing today, so they're not looking good for Sunday. Everyone else on this list that I'm about to read through was limited, which means they should be fine for Sunday. That includes Nacho, Gunnar, Wandale, John Runyon, JMS, Darius Slayton, Thomas, and Tyrone Tracy. So again, all of those guys limited. They should be fine to go on Sunday. The one thing that is noticeable to me about this is Nacho, because Nacho did not play last week. So the fact that he's limited in practice is definitely a good sign. So hopefully he's back on Sunday. I think we could absolutely benefit from having him back on the field, knowing that there's still some concerns about linebacker too. He is decent across against the run. So let's talk about personnel situations now, because this is also driving me absolutely insane. These are the moves that the Giants made this week so far. They moved linebacker Chris Board to the reserve/injured list. They added 3 players to the practice squad: Dalen Cambry, Neville Hewitt, and Curtis Jacobs. Hewitt and Jacobs are both linebackers. Hewitt has a lot of experience in the NFL. I believe he's played almost 200 career games and has almost 500 tackles. So he, I think, is most likely to get elevated from the practice squad for Sunday's game, especially if Flanagan-Foles is not ready to go. They added linebacker Swayze Bowman from the practice squad to the active roster. So he is probably going to be the starter next to Bobby Okereke on Sunday. And then they cut 2 guys from the practice squad: tight end Kadir Ismail and defensive back Patrick McMorris. The thing that is so frustrating to me is this: looking at all of these additions that they made and then knowing and hearing that special teams coordinator Mike Gabriel spoke to the media today and said that we might see Tyrone Tracy used as a returner again. Now, I've talked about this extensively, so I will not go into it a lot, but I cannot for the life of me understand why they are putting their starting players in a position to get injured when they have gotten injured before and have not been able to play for weeks. Adoree Jackson happened a few years ago under this same regime. Wan'Dale Robinson just last week, or in week 1, dealt with an ankle injury that he suffered on the return. But let's go ahead and put them back out there when we have Gunnar, when we have Bo Collins, who's on this active roster, who has special teams experience, when we are wasting a roster active spot on Jalen Hyatt, who not only does not get a single snap in the game, but they don't use him on special teams. On top of that, you have Turbo and Amir Smith-Marset, and now Dalen Cambry, who are all on the practice squad, who all know this offense, who all did well in preseason, and who all play on special teams. But instead of using any one of those guys on special teams, no. We're going to use our starting running back and our starting slot receiver for the advantage that they bring. And I understand the argument from them that they bring a competitive advantage and, they help out on special teams. That's wonderful. Are you forgetting that Amir Smith-Marset last year ran 2 returns back for touchdowns? Why are we excluding him from that? Why are we excluding Gunnar, who's actually done a great job with returns since he's been on the Giants over the last couple of years? It makes no sense to me, but it's wildly infuriating. And it's infuriating when we have to have the same conversation week after week, year after year. I will never understand the thought process there. It drives me insane. Okay, we're going to move on. Last 2 things we are going to discuss. We are going to talk about how the Giants beat the Chiefs, and then we're going to talk about players to watch. I know everyone has been up to date on this. The Chiefs are not the same Chiefs team that won the Super Bowl. They have good football players that absolutely need to be accounted for, but the Giants also have some good players that need to be accounted for. So this is what I want to see the Giants do this week to help win this game. Number one, as a whole, they have to clean up the penalties, obviously. You're not beating Andy Reid, who is a damn good coach and a successful coach at that. You are not beating him if you shoot yourselves in the foot over and over again. So they have to clean up the penalties. And not having James Hudson on the field, sure, that's going to help it. But it's not going to help all the other players and the players on defense who also had atrocious penalties. So need to be cleaned up. I don't expect them to be perfect. They will likely not be perfect, but they have to clean it up. Anywhere close to 100 yards in penalties is unacceptable. It has to be less than that. The other thing I want to see is Darius Slayton get more involved. The Chiefs, again, are not stupid. They are going to double Malik Neighbors. Now, Malik Neighbors is still going to get targeted and he's still going to make plays. I have a lot of faith in him from that aspect. But Darius Slayton has improved his catching capabilities. His drops are less and he is a speedster. Use him in all different type of ways. He's not limited to be used as only a deep ball threat. And if you're going to use him as that, then target him. Okay? So I want to see more Darius in this week. The offensive line, you got to run block a little bit better. The Chiefs defense is basically in the top 15 across the board against the run, against the pass, and in total. You know where the Giants are listed? Number 32. We are listed as the worst defense in the NFL when we have a shitload of talent there, which is unacceptable behavior, which we're going to get to in a minute. But I really need the offensive line to figure it out this week and start to run block a little bit better. And, Dan Duggan again was asked about, if Andrew Thomas is healthy and ready to go, what are they going to do with Marcus Bowe? And he said that they're going to use Marcus Bowe as a swing tackle. They're not planning right now to throw him in as a guard or a center. So keep that in mind. Sunday rolls around, whether or not you like it or I like it or we think it's the right decision, that's what they're going to end up doing. So the interior line is likely to stay exactly the same. So in week 3, they've improved a little bit every single week. Week 3, you have to take that giant step forward. We have to see more from them this week. They have to be able to open up some holes for these running backs because we are not beating anyone, but especially the Chiefs, if we can't run the ball. They have to be better about that this week. So I also want to see a bit more of a running back by committee situation. I think the Giants have had success with this over the years, and they have 2 good running backs. I love Scattaboo. If they want to put him in every snap, I'm fine with that. I love the guy. But I also think Tyrone Tracy brings a lot to this offense, and I think that you can throw a defense off a little bit by rotating them in instead of, only playing one player over and over again. That's the benefit of having multiple good players at one position. So I want to see them do that. The last thing is I do want to see more of the tight ends. I think that we should see Daniel Bellinger more involved. I like Theo Johnson. He redeemed himself last week with some catches. But Daniel Bellinger has better hands than Theo Johnson. And I think that they're going to have the opportunity, if the offensive line is okay and Andrew Thomas is back, they can use Manhertz as a blocker like they've been doing. They also do the same with Theo and Belly. But I just think that they should get Bellinger more involved. He is a bigger tight end. He can make those catches. And I just think that he's here for a reason. So use him for that. He's a better pass catcher than Theo. We've all seen it. Do it. Switching gears to the defense. Okay, the last thing I want to say is Mike Kafka and Brian Dable. If you are in the red zone on first down and by fourth down, you have not converted, kick the goddamn field goal. Kick the field goal, okay? Because whatever they're doing in the red zone is obviously causing them a problem. I don't know what it is. I think it's a mix of play calling. I think it's a mix of bad blocking. It's the fact that they can't run the ball. It's a little bit of everything, okay? But you have to take points where you can. And I understand that everyone's going to come and say, well, field goals aren't going to win against the Chiefs. I agree with you, but also getting 0 points versus 3 is not better. So you have to get points on the board regardless. So I want to see them do that. And I like aggressiveness. I like going forward on fourth down. But the reality is we are not Dan Campbell and the Lions, okay? We have less success on fourth down conversions than Dan Campbell and the Lions do. So we can't be out here thinking we're Dan Campbell and we're going to go forward on fourth down, especially when you have proven week after week, year after year that you have struggles in the red zone. This is not a one-time thing, okay? They didn't all of a sudden struggle in the red zone last week against the Cowboys. We have seen this week in and week out for years, especially under this regime. And it's not the quarterback's fault, okay? Daniel Jones is gone. and you still have problems there. So something needs to be improved and they have to fix it. Maybe they're going to throw Jackson Dart in there. By all means, do it. Okay. We've heard so much about how they have these different packages for Jackson Dart. We saw a little sneak peek of it last week. I think he's probably best utilized in the red zone. Do it. Try it until it gets to fourth down. And when it gets to fourth down and you have not had success, kick the goddamn field goal. You have Graham Gano. He's a good kicker. He can make it. End of discussion. Let's talk about the defense. If there's one reason that I feel slightly optimistic that the defense is going to be better this week, it's because of, well, there's two reasons. Number one is that the offense made a gigantic leap from week 1 to week 2. And I don't want to hear anyone say, well, the Cowboys have a bad defense. You know who also has a bad defense? The Commanders. And we couldn't score a goddamn touchdown on them. So I don't want to hear it. Whatever happened from week 1 to week 2 was enough, I think, to give them some sort of confidence that they can actually score touchdowns. Maybe not in the red zone. Maybe they have to be 40 yards away, but when throw a moon ball, but they can still do it, right? So that is important. The confidence piece is absolutely a part of it. The second thing is that Carl Banks, who lit up for, I think, the first time ever, the players and the coaching staff after the Cowboys game, was talking with F-bombs here and F-bombs there. And honestly, I love it. Clearly saying that the players didn't execute where they were supposed to execute. And at some point, you have to put some of the onus on them, which is 100% fair. I think Bowen is not putting them in a position to succeed. And I think that's a gigantic part of it. But I also think that you need to tackle and communicate and understand where you should be on every single play. And, you know, at this point in the game, like, you got to clean that up. So, but, you know, Banks said all of this and said, you know, he's been in the building. I don't know if he's been in meetings or not, but he said that he has reason to believe that there is going to be some drastic differences coming to this defense this week. Now, some of you are going to say Banks is a homer, blah, 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 and that's fine. But the fact that he was calling out specific players, which he has never done before, he called out Tyler Nubin and Javon Holland on his last podcast with Carl Banks earlier in the week. Listen to it. He called them out, and he also said that part of it is the coaching staff not putting them in the right position and playing a little too much soft zone. Okay. Two things can be true at once. So, you know, the fact that he went out of his way to essentially throw players under the bus again, which someone has to, right? Brian Dable's not gonna. So I think Banks is also very respected in the building. I think defensive players, I'm sure, love him. So to hear that from him probably means a lot. And I think was a bit of a wake-up call. And, you know, Carl essentially said in his tweet that, you know, I got the vibe that there's a new sense of urgency there from the defense specifically, and that they are going to be making changes. So time will tell. We have to see it on the field on Sunday, okay, before we can believe it. But I think that based on what happened with the offense and based on, I think, a big call and having, you know, someone like Carl Banks be involved in the building and be like, what the fuck are you doing, is helpful to these players. So anyway, with that being said, this is what I want to see this week. I want to see more blitzing. I'm going to talk about it until I'm blue in the face or until it ends up happening. You have to blitz more. And I know Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, okay? But you have to put pressure on him. This offensive line is not the offensive line of the past. Josh Simmons, their tackle, is dealing with an illness this week. Yes, he might be fine by the time Sunday rolls around, but still can take a toll on your body. And depending on what that illness is, he might not be feeling completely 100% on Sunday. The Chiefs' offensive line is not what it was, and the Giants' defense has to exploit that. The second thing they have to do is, for the love of God, cover Travis fucking Kelce. This is not the week where Travis Kelce on Sunday Night Football with his little singer girlfriend in the booth that they're going to show 700 times. Can we not make this be the week where he lights it up and has 2 touchdowns and 150 yards? This is not the week to do that, okay? It's enough. We already struggle covering the tight end. It's been a problem for the Giants with a long time. But Travis Kelce and the Chiefs, again, are not the team that they have been in the past. And he's on the side whining to his coach and bitching about it and doesn't even have a C on his chest this year, okay? Enough is enough. You have to cover Travis Kelce. Do not leave him wide open. The Giants have done this before. We've all seen it. And we all know what happens when they leave him wide open. It's ugly for us, okay? Now is the time to work on that. I hope they all watch the film of Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is not Travis Kelce, but he looks like fucking Gronk out there when the Giants play them. So you cannot allow that to happen. You cannot do it. Do not leave him uncovered. I know what they're going to have to do. Xavier Worthy is going to be back. It's obviously a problem, but at least Rice is not going to be there too. They have to beat them, and they have to do it by taking Travis Kelce out of the game. That's what they have to do. Obviously, I want to see them be able to slow down the run a little bit. Tackling, maybe improve there. I hope that having a veteran linebacker is going to make a difference. But keep in mind, the guy's been on the team for about 3 days, which is the same length that Bozeman was on the team last week before he ended up having to play quite a few snaps. And now with Darius Muasau likely being out, they're both going to have to play a lot of snaps. So I want to see them clean things up. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? Is they have to clean up the execution. That means less penalties, better tackling, sticky coverage. Maybe someone can get an interception like Drew Phillips did last week. Von Holland and Cordell Flott were this close to having another one. Dexter Lawrence was this close to having an interception, okay? They got to somehow get a takeaway in this game. I think that could also be the deciding factor is they're going to have to sway that momentum away from the Chiefs. So I think they can do it, guys. I do. This is a beatable Chiefs team. Do I think they will? On Sunday night, I don't know, but at least we can get rid of the narrative that Daniel Jones is 1-18 in primetime games, okay? So at least we don't have that. We have one thing going for us, okay? And I know that when he has a primetime game with the Colts, he's also probably going to light it up. Doesn't matter, okay? That was such a narrative for the entire time that he's been here. That is out the window now. No one cares that you have a primetime game against the Chiefs. It doesn't matter. That's not an excuse for you shitting the bed or not playing good football. No one cares. So go out there and beat them. And if there's one other reason why you need to go out there and beat them, it is because some of the players on that football team are absolute garbage people. Because the nerve that they have to wear a shirt during pregame warmups and into the game that says free 4 after he almost killed people, left the scene of the crime, and left people severely injured is disgusting. And what's worse is that Andy Reid, whose own child had a DUI accident that injured a child too. Like, you're disgusting people. The fact that they went out there and he defended their choice to do that. I get the players coach thing, okay? I deal with Aaron Boone every goddamn day and Brian Dable for 4 years, okay? I get it. But at some point, like, you have to know what right and wrong is. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is just completely unacceptable for you to go out there to the media and be like, I don't really have a problem with it. So, Giants, can you go out there and prove that you are not only the better team, but you have better people on your fucking team who are role models to children or anyone for that matter? Like, we can shit on Jalen Hurts all we want, but he is one of the biggest role models in the NFL. And I will give him credit upon credit for that because he's won a Super Bowl and he's still humble. He's got an all-female management team and he does everything right. So the Chiefs are going to go out there and do this disgusting thing. And I swear to God, if they do it again on Sunday, I'm going to be in a suite, so I can't throw things at them, but I would absolutely consider it because they deserve it. That is absolute garbage behavior. You are grown men who are supporting that. It's disgusting. Anyway, with that being said, Giants, please go out there on Sunday, beat the absolute living fuck out of the Chiefs. We hate them, and so does everyone else. So can we be the good guy for once and garner some respect around the league that we were the team to go out there and make the Chiefs go 0-3? Let's fucking go. I don't want to hear shit about the officials because all I've heard all week is that the officials are going to go out there and try to get the Chiefs to win because they don't want them to go 0-3. And honestly, there's probably some truth to that. We all know what's happened with them in the past, but we're not going to let it come down to that. Do you hear me, Giants? You are not going to let it come down to 1 or 2 bullshit penalties that allow the Chiefs to win. So get your shit together. Act like this is a big deal because it is. You've only got 17 games and you've already lost 2 of them. Now is the time to get it together and win. Okay? I'll be there cheering you on because I love you and I'm rooting for you. Oh my God, I forgot about the players to watch. I'm going to do them very quick. On offense, Darius Slayton, want to see more of him involved. And obviously, if we see more of Marcus Bowe, he's going to be super fun to watch. And, unless it's Andrew Thomas, if it's Andrew Thomas, the crowd's going to go wild. We're all going to be super thrilled. I'm really excited to see more of Scat, excited to see more of Tracy. I really got to see the interior offensive line run block a little bit. Okay. Please just make it a little bit better this week. On defense, I talk a lot about Brian Burns. He's so fun to watch. You know how much I love him. But we have to talk about Kayvon, because Kayvon is having a very, very good season so far, and it shows up on the tape and it shows up in the stat line. So I'm really excited for Kayvon. I think he's got, whatever it takes. He's playing like his hair is on fire, and I love it. I love it. And that's what pisses me off even more when I see these stats that the Giants are the 32nd ranked defense, because we are better than that. And Shane Bowen, you better fucking prove it this weekend. So anyway, excited to see more of Kayvon too. Obviously, Abdul Carter. But I want to call out Tyler Nubin, because I think he had a little bit of a tough game last week, and I think he's going to turn it around. I think that having someone like Banks in the building, that obviously watching on tape some of the issues that they had, I think a lot of these young guys admire some of the vets in the league, like, of course, Holland, and seeing what Banks and LT and all of these guys did for their own franchise. Like, I think that they want to be better. It's just the struggle has been there. I think Nubin is going to turn it around this week, and I think we're going to see a much better week out of him. So keep your eyes peeled on number 27. I'm really optimistic about him. And last, we got to talk about Cordell Flott, who had an incredible game against the Cowboys. He is playing some of the best football that he's ever played with the Giants, and I really, really hope that that continues. I think he's drastically improved from where he was at this time last year, and the more playing time he gets, the better plays he seems to make. So I'm excited about Flott, number 28. Keep it up, brother. We're rooting for you. And let's go Giants. Let's go out there and beat the Chiefs, all right? Let's go 1-2 on Sunday.